Now, your high school recruiting report with Channel 2's Zach Klein and AJC recruiting expert Michael Carvell.
Now, before we talk recruiting for the 2015 season, we need to talk recruiting for 2030. That is when his daughter, Charlie Avery, will probably get recruited by one of the Georgia schools for something amazing in academics or athletics. A brand new baby girl, a week old. How's the young little angel doing?
I am still catching up on sleep, but she's doing great, and watching childbirth, that had to be the pinnacle of life, I think.
Very cool. Congratulations from all us here on Recruiting Show and Channel 2 as well. All right, let's talk the 2015 class. Georgia Tech, Paul Johnson doing an unbelievable job. Arguably, Michael, his best class since he joined over at Georgia Tech in 2007. They have bumped up all the way to number 19 on the recruiting rankings, according to the folks at Rival. But let's talk about some of the top recruits for Georgia Tech. And I understand they have a double tandem, some double trouble coming out of Etowah High School. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, Georgia Tech has really stepped it up in two areas: player evaluations and making early scholarship offers. And no, you're not seeing double when we show you this video. This is Brad and Scott Morgan. They are fraternal twins from Etowah High School, and I'm not sure I can tell you who is who, but I can tell you this. They were a package deal all along. They had the opportunity to play together at Minnesota and Marshall, but they decided to stay home and double up at Georgia Tech, and I don't know exactly which positions they will play. Brad looks more like an offensive guard, while Scott may end up at defensive tackle. They'll figure it out this summer, but I think the twins were a really good find by Georgia Tech. Miami inquired about them recently, Zach, but they are going to double down and stay at Georgia Tech.
All right, now the most heavily recruited of Georgia Tech's prospects may be, just maybe, Tyler Cooksey, a three-star linebacker out of Greater Atlanta Christian. The Yellow Jackets beat out some of the better schools in the country, both on the field and in the classroom. We're talking about Stanford, North Carolina, Duke, just to name a few. What won it in the end for Georgia Tech to land this talented linebacker?
Yeah, I guess blood is thicker than water. And what I mean by that is that Tyler is a Georgia Tech legacy. His father played football for the Yellow Jackets back in the 70s, and his father also had a short stint with the Atlanta Falcons. But back to Tyler, there he is, number 42. He thought about going somewhere else, but that family connection, it kept pulling him back to Georgia Tech. And this commitment was a pretty big deal for the Jackets. They've struggled with legacy kids in recent years. And how good is Tyler Cooksey? I think he's as good as any senior linebacker out of the state of Georgia this year. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, and he's really smart. It's almost like having another coach on the field, and I expect big things from Tyler Cooksey on the flats.
Yeah, pretty cool for him to keep that in the family. I'm pretty sure his aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody involved are excited that he's going to be heading to the flats next year. We will discuss in detail, Michael, as we get closer to National Signing Day, about Georgia Tech's recruiting class for 2015 season. But can you give me one reason why they're having so much success so early?
Yeah, follow the money.
Oh, can you say that?
Follow the money. It always starts with the money, and you've got to have resources when you're recruiting in SEC land.
Resources, okay.
Resources, that's right. Georgia Tech, they finally made a much-needed investment in its recruiting department last year. They quadrupled the number of coaches on their recruiting staff from 1 to 4. And Zach, this investment has paid immediate dividends. They've been able to evaluate kids earlier. They've been able to offer kids earlier. Georgia Tech is recruiting so much more aggressively on the recruiting trail, and these are things you've got to do if you want to have a top 20, top 30 class. And yes, this should easily be Paul Johnson's best class at Georgia Tech. In fact, I don't think it's even close, so some exciting days ahead for Tech.
All right, as always, we appreciate the insight and the knowledge, and get some sleep for us, will you?
I need some.